First grade artists, if you have made it this far, that means that during class you have gone through the easy and the medium version of our surrealist painting, and we're going to move on to the hardest one because the other ones were probably too easy for you, and it's still going to allow you some time to practice. Remember, just because you paint all three doesn't mean you have to use the hardest one. You'll use the one that turned out best. It might be your first one, it might be your second one, or it could be this one. But just because you paint all three doesn't mean that you need to use the one that you did last. You'll get to pick and choose, and the nice thing is that it gives you time to practice painting big, simple shapes. Just like the first two videos, the front of our paper has the black marks for where our ground is going to go. So before we start painting, we'll flip our paper over. In the middle of your paper, please write your first name. And underneath it, you'll write your class code. Since you're in first grade, it'll be a number 1 and then the letter of your teacher's name. If you're not sure what it is, I'll have it up here on the whiteboard and you can copy it down. Once your first name and class code is on your paper, you can turn it back over to where we're looking at the two marks for where our ground is going to go. In video 1, we did a straight line for simple. Video 2, we did one hill for medium. And in the hard video, we're not going to do one hill, we're going to do 2 hills, and we're going to be using the paintbrush to draw it on our paper. Again, we're going to use green for our ground and grass, so when people are looking at our picture, they know which is which. We'll get our brush wet. We're using the large brush that has a clear handle with the blue end. We're going to spin our brush in the green 10 to 15 times. Again, the more spins, the darker the paint. The less spins, the lighter the paint. And I'm going to draw with my paintbrush 1 hill and 2. Before we fill it in, just like we've been practicing for this entire project, anytime we paint or draw a shape, we want to outline it by going down the sides and around the bottom. This tells you where your shape is, so that way it helps us stay inside the lines when we go to fill in the inside. Once you have your shape outlined, you can grab a little bit more water, a little bit more paint. When we paint the inside, we pull, lift, pull, lift. Again, I have a lot of water and a lot of paint, so I'm just spreading it out and smoothing it. And I wait till my brush is almost dry and out of paint before I grab more water and more paint. After our ground, we're going to do our sun and our moon, which are yellow and orange. So we need a clean brush because it has green paint on it. So you can take this to the sink, you can dump your water and get fresh water and a clean brush. In our medium video with our one hill, we started talking about changing the size of our clouds and our stars. So we're going to use that same information for this picture. We're going to make sure that our moon and our sun are not the same size. So you're going to want to pick whichever one is more important to you and make that one the biggest. So if you think that the sun is more important to you, you're going to do a bigger sun and a smaller moon. That doesn't mean that you're going to fill up the entire sky with the sun and only have a tiny moon, because it doesn't leave us any space for anything else. All this means is that for this picture, the size of our sun and the size of our moon should not be the same size. I like the daytime better, so I am going to go ahead and make my sun bigger. I'm also going to move my sun. I had my sun up here in the upper left for the first video, down here for the second video. Because the sun is more important, I'm going to put it up higher, and I'm going to put the moon down lower. So now that I have my plan, I'm going to paint it with my paintbrush and yellow paint. Again, I know some of you are used to drawing the sun rays in your picture. We're not going to do it for this one because we're putting so much in the sky, and if we're adding sun rays, it's going to leave less room for clouds, stars, and our moon. So I decided that my sun is more important. It's going to be the biggest. Again, when I draw my moon, I'm not going to go itty bitty, because chances are, as we add more to this project, you're probably not going to see it. It's going to get covered up by our buildings or our people. So you don't have to make it really, really small, just smaller than the sun, so that when people look at it, they can go, yep, the sun is bigger and the moon is smaller. We're doing the crescent shape with the letter C and another letter C. Again, my sun, bigger than my moon, but my moon is not super tiny, and that's why we're using a larger brush to make sure nobody's making their sun or their moon too small. If you haven't cleaned your brush from the sun, just paint the bottom of your water cup. Spin your brush on the orange paint. And we're going to a darker color yet, so we can get rid of the orange by spinning our brush on the bottom and talking about our clouds. As promised, each step, each draft, each time we do something, for those of you that have gotten to the harder version, I'm always going to give you some things that you can do that you didn't do in the previous ones. We didn't talk about size for the sun and the moon, so that's why we did it on this one. We didn't talk about doing two hills on the first two. Last time when we did our clouds, you did do the shapes already. You did have some small and some big. But here's another way to make your picture more interesting to look at, and that's by having some of your items going off the page. So for your clouds, still make some medium, some small, some large, but now we can also add having them hang off our page. So this cloud actually goes off the page. It looks like the clouds are moving. Before, you could see the left of the cloud, the right of the cloud, the top of the cloud, and the bottom of the cloud. But by adding part of the cloud and having some of it fall off, it's going to cause movement, and it's more interesting to look at. So if I do a large cloud here, I might do a small cloud next to it. When I go up towards the top, I might start with a small, but here I might add a larger one. Again, that's coming off of my paper. So it's not the full cloud, it's only part of the cloud, and that's something that could make this picture your favorite compared to the other two. Once you're done with your clouds, we're no longer using the large brush. You can clean out your water and you can clean out your brush with soap. You can grab fresh water and you can grab the small red brush for the stars. Okay, the last thing we're going to add is our stars by doing the plus sign and the two diagonal lines. Nothing special for this one other than if you want to have some of them going off the page, you can also add small, medium, or large, and you're just going to fill in any of the spaces that are white and leaving a lot of emptiness. If by chance you have watched all the videos and you have done number 1, number 2, and number 3, go ahead and pick which one you like best, whether it was video 1, 2, or 3, and just try it one more time, and that should definitely get you to the end of class. We're only going to do 1 day of drafts for our background. That way they can dry. Next week when you come in, your pictures will be dry. They'll be ready to start adding our buildings, our ladders, and our people. Good luck.